Welcome to Deep Thought. Understanding a horizon, right? Let me explain a horizon. And I've talked about that before when I used the example of basketball players. The horizon for them to play basketball was Dr. Naismith back in the 1800s, late 1800s, inventing basketball. Because if not, we wouldn't hear about LeBron James or Stephen Curry, and, we wouldn't be arguing about who's the greatest basketball player. And also that horizon, Dr. Naismith created that horizon. He also created ways for colleges to make money. He created a cultural thing. You can go in any neighborhood and find a basketball hoop. In fact, some neighborhoods you drive through, they got basketball hoops in their backyard and everything, or front yard, built into the property, everything. That's how ubiquitous the sport is. But in order for it to happen, they had to, Naismith had to create that horizon, that environment, right? Just think of it as the environment. And the reason why I thought about that, how you always see something about going back in time, knowing what you know now, right? Knowing what you know now, right? You always have something about that, right? If you could go back in time. So I thought about that, right? I said, okay, what would happen if I went back in time? And I thought about 1987, right? What would I have done if I went back to 1987? One, I probably wouldn't have gotten a graduate education, right? And that seriously, that's one thing. Because I notice I never talk about what I actually got it in. So that shows you how much I think about it. But I probably wouldn't have got that. If I went back to 1987, that's when I graduated college. And I thought about it. I was like, okay, if I went back, what would I do? And I said, well, definitely start a business, right? And then I thought about my book, Nice Guys and Players. And I said, yeah, only problem was it wouldn't have sold then. Why not? There's no horizon for it. And I know this is going to kind of spill over into kind of what I will talk about on my business channel. But, y'all see as I finish the conversation where I'm going. But yeah, Nice Guys and Players wouldn't have sold back then because at the time, the horizon wasn't good for a book telling men how to be a better man for women or how to attract women. The horizon wasn't there. I mean, yeah, we can talk about feminism and all of that, but back then it wasn't as bad. Men and women got along way better back then, particularly in the black community. You're talking, that's back when you had the Cosby Show, showing, a family working together, a well-off family. So you didn't have that same energy. And plus, we were going into that era of conscious rap. That's, you had people talking positivity. I would say that period between maybe 1987 and 92, men and women were pretty chill. I mean, you had some stuff, and, some people, there was some stuff going on. But it wasn't like the way it would be, say, maybe in 1998, right? So something like Nice Guys and Players probably wouldn't have sold no matter how hard because the horizon wasn't there. It was like, everybody getting along. And plus people were more concerned about the crack epidemic back then, right? So yeah, the horizon wasn't there. So the horizon didn't show up until like the late 90s. That's when, men started wanting some stuff because, before that it had been about all the stuff focused on women. And plus that's when men started getting into, going online. That's when the internet got really got good. The internet used to be slow as hell. So, the horizon wasn't there. And speaking of the internet and the horizon, a lot of stuff we have nowadays, the horizon wasn't there. Like YouTube would have been impossible back in 1995. And people making money off of it, doing news shows, stuff like that. Why? The technology wasn't there. So the horizon wasn't there for somebody to make money. See, understand, whatever changed, it could be a business thing, it could be a philosophy. The horizon has to be there for it. Like, for example, there's many people, if you really look at everything, there's many movements that are going to emerge as automation comes that wouldn't have been possible if automation didn't, because it's going to create some people ain't just going to sit on their butts. It's going to create new businesses and stuff, right? It's going to create new philosophies. And also, too, and I've always said, I always study subcultures. New subcultures are going to emerge. Now, if you get a situation, because right now you have a monetary situation where people, the middle class really used to be just somebody they making, they could work in a factory or something. The reality is getting to the point the real middle class are millionaires. You got to be a millionaire to be considered middle class. And some economists actually promote that idea. So because you have more people, they losing jobs and making, doing whatever, you might get another horizon that, caters to people not making that much money. You might get different mores or even some different businesses. Like there's been talk of universal basic income. That might create, no telling what type of horizon that might create. Because if people getting basic income, they got more time to sit around. It could create an environment where more people buy marijuana. And actually, that's actually a thing. You got a horizon being created as more states legalize marijuana use. There's no telling what type of horizon that creates. In fact, because it's legal in some states, it's not just a question of people smoking it. There's other stuff to do with that. There's other stuff. There's I saw a video of a chef that used cannabis in her special sauce. And that's the special sauce I usually talk about on my relationship channel. But there's an horizon. She might be able to create a business or something because the horizon is open. Like there's a lot of stuff with cannabis and stuff like that people are creating that don't have anything to do with smoking. People creating clothing that promotes it, because there's an horizon for it. I mean, it's not just smoking it. But there's an horizon. It might create, like I mentioned, the universal basic income. You might have so many people like sitting around that somebody say, well, hold up. They sitting around, don't have anything to do. They're going to need more leisure stuff. Somebody might come up with some type of game or activity to do, and that creates something totally new. Or you might have some, it could be anything. But that's it. It's like no matter what you do, business or philosophy, like I could talk about like here's an example of a philosophy. There's a big move. Well, I don't know how big it is, but there's a move. I'll say a strong movement towards polyamory, open relationships, and everything. That movement wouldn't have been possible in the 70s. Even with all the free love and stuff, it wouldn't have been possible. Or maybe the 80s. The 80s were kind of conservative. That movement would not have been possible. For the people who promote polyamory and everything, they needed basically relationships to jack up. The horizon created made it possible for them to move. Otherwise, they'd just be some fringe, like a serious fringe. But now you got like serious people like talking about it and promoting it and everything. So it's like you have to look at, if you have an idea for a philosophy, you have to look at the environment, the horizon. Is it possible? What's going on? Homeschooling. Like the schools, now when schools were generally good, the environment for homeschooling wouldn't have been as possible. because it wasn't as needed. But because so many schools are just bad, and just, many parents are just saying, look, we just going to take them to whatchamacallit, right? We just going to homeschool them ourselves. So that's her horizon. So that's how you understand that. So anyway, something to think about. Peace and blessings.